Hello everyone and welcome to the absolutely beautiful Partridge Lakes, where we are doing another of Andy May's crash courses in one, and this time we are focusing on catching those stockies. You know, right, where are we now? We are middle of November. This is the last warm day of the year officially, and then it's proper get ready time. It is coming absolutely freezing next week. I think Scotland's like predicted -5 tomorrow night. It's just getting proper for it. And now what I want to focus on obviously is catching these stockies, because fisheries up and down the country, when that water starts to go really cold, which has happened, let's face it, sort of 3 or 4 weeks ago, they have like a refresh of fish. Yeah, they all get these new fish put into the lake, so quite a few of the silvers will get taken out, and then they'll put F1s, carp in. There'll be lakes all over the country that do it, and none more so. They do it so well here at Partridge Lakes. The stocking policy here is phenomenal. Now, the stockies went in here, I'm going to say about, well, in fact, last week another load of stockie carp went in. The week before that, loads of F1s have gone in, and they're feeding. The fact is that they feed really well, but also they spur all the older fish on as well, so it's just phenomenal. It's so good, and obviously when it comes cold, it's all about getting bites, and that's why it's so important these fisheries are kept up to date and keeping these stockies going in. Now, baits that we're using today is purely fish meal. Now, obviously, if I was in a match or come pleasuring, of course I'd bring maggots, but the thing is, these fish, from when they're like the hatch, from when they're like the little baby fry like that, they get stuck, they get put into these grading ponds. All they pretty much see is fish meal based products. So 1 mil pellets, fish meal ground bait, 2 mils, then probably they'll get put in these lakes for us to catch. So we're going to go through 2 mil expanders, 4 mil expanders, a few micros, but in particular it's the ground bait that we want to get across. That's what we're going to be doing today. I've got 2 different rigs to cover. One for if it's really pongy, it's gone really cold. Now, bearing in mind, these fish are still going to feed, even when it goes absolutely freezing cold and desperate. These stocky F1s and carp, they're still going to feed, but you've got to make sure you're fishing right. So that's why I've done 2 rigs. I've done one more so for sort of like now. Well, it's still a little bit warmer. The water temperature is probably 10 degrees, 9 or 10 degrees, so it's still quite nice. Fish are still happy to feed in that. But as I say, with it coming colder, that's when you need like a really fine rig through the water and everything. So positive one and a negative one, which is something I do all the time. Where we're fishing, it's all about the depths. I'll go through that one and talk through the rigs, but it's all about finding sort of like that 3 foot and then working from there. If you're not getting bites, possibly a little bit deeper, or it might be a case that you might be like a metre off them when it goes really cold. I've had it before where I've been a metre off them, not getting a bite, put my plummet back on, a metre to my left, metre to the right, you start bumping fish when you're plumbing up, go there and you start catching one a chuck. It is ridiculous how they won't move off that particular area. So have your starting point. For me, it's 3 foot, and then work from there. If you're getting foul lookers, liners, loads of funny bites, just chase them up. They're still quite happily feeding, you know. I'm not going to say inches of water, but 18 inches, something like that. Certainly, obviously, I don't want to mention too much about dobbing, but dobbing will come into it, that kind of thing. But we're not here to dob. We are here to catch fish, feeding bait. So without further ado, let me talk you through the rigs. I'm going to go through the real negative one first. I'm going to put that to 3 foot, and then what I'll do is I'll come back and talk you through the bait. We have got quite a bit of bait, but you know, it's such a simple way to use it that we'll do today. So first things first, let's get on to the elastic. Now, all through the summer we have got short kits on, so short kits and short 3s. Even though the newly stocked fish, they're aggressive, they're still a flipping nightmare to hit at times, so you have got to make sure everything's as stiff as possible. So short kits and short 3s. All through the summer I'll use 11s Jura, 13s Jura when I'm proper bagging, but now it's coming a little bit colder, I do switch down to a 9s or even a 7s sometimes. If it's more sort of like silvers through the water, I'll go for a 7s, but 9s is like that happy medium. Yeah, there's still lots of old school carp in here. The new carp they put in, they're up to and over £3 and they're proper angry, so it's going to take some stretching today, this, but the Stockies are proper angry as well. Simply because they're not used to getting hooked. They've come straight out of these fish ponds where they're getting fed, living the life of Riley, and then get stuck into fish topping everywhere. They get stuck into these ponds, and obviously, you know, they're getting caught and they're like, what's going on? And they tend to go absolutely nuts. So you need someone with a little bit of beans behind them, but obviously that's where your puller kit comes in. So 9's Jura, set nice and pingy. Now this first rig, this is me light rig. This is the one that'll last me all through the winter, through the desperate times when there's ice on the venue, things like that. But I want to show you, this is one I'll be starting off on today. It probably won't be positive enough. I'll probably get the odd like line of foul looker on this, but I've got to show it you because it's like the rig that will do a lot of damage for you when it does go colder. So first things first, look at the amount of line I've got between my pole tip and my float. There's a good sort of like, what, getting on for 2 foot there. Now that is so important when the lake starts to lose its colour. Not too bad for this time of year. I put a couple of pellets in down here before, and we've probably got about 8 inches of visibility, something like that. But when these waters start to like really go clear, when its temperature starts to drop, you'll have 18 inches, sometimes 2 foot of visibility, and it's so important you have a long line pole tip to float. Back shots is always just above the float. We'll go through more laying the rigging when we get fishing, but back shot's important, just above the float. Now this rig, 410s, F1 maggot, I would change that to an F1 fine when it goes really cold. The difference between the two floats, they've both got carbon stems, which I love, so you can hold a tight line and watch that float through the water. But the F1 fine, when it comes really cold, it's got a 1.2mm bristle, yeah? The F1 maggot and the F1 pellet have got a 1.5mm bristle. 1.5 will be, I know it sounds daft, 0.3 of a mil, but it'll be a little bit too heavy, a little bit too much resistance there in the depths of winter when, you know, you see your float shaking, like, is that a bite? That'll show up properly on a 1.2mm bristle. You'll get them little dinks and it'll be a proper bite. So 410s float, we've just got a little tiny number 12 stock just under the float. Now this is a difference with the two rigs. What I've got on here is 7 number 11 shots. Because I'm not going to play around with the shots or anything, that's why I've gone for shots and not stots, yeah? If I was going to play around with the stots, you know, move them further up the rig, create a slower fall, then I'd use stots because they're a lot kinder on your line. But when I know I'm not going to change around with them, always use shots. Now you can see there, this float, get back to that one, Jakey, this float set at 3 foot. That is my starting point. That's what I'm going to put plummet on, go and find 3 foot. It's a happy medium, a nice depth for the fish. You will be on a slope on these kind of waters, a little bit different on open waters, but you know, it's one of them. But on a snake lake, find your 3 foot and then work from there. Now you'll see where me first droppers, if you like, that's around about, there's 18 inches on my depth marker, so it's probably about 21 inches, something like that. And then all it is, it's just literally a couple of inches between each shot, coming all the way down to my hook length here. Now I'm going to say it's important in this depth to not go over a 4-inch hook length. Even in the depths of winter, you know, I do like a longer hook length in the winter, but even in the depths of winter, in this depth, I would still use a 4-inch hook length, simply because you've got to see that bite as soon as it happens. It's different when you're fishing in deeper water. You can get away with a longer hook length, you know, much more natural fall. But when you're fishing in that shallow water, 3 foot, always use a 4-inch hook length. And in this case, 4 inches we have got. It's straight out of the packet, but I've just shortened it. Where are they? I did have them in here before. It's an SFLB size 18 to 0.11. I'll find them in a bit. SFLB, yeah, size 18 to 0.11. That should still be fine for this time of year. We'll probably get away with a little bit heavier, but first things first, when you start off your session, you want to make sure that you're getting into fish, getting into bites. So that's why I'll always start off a little bit lighter. You can always go heavier. Main line is 0.16, which I pretty much stick to on all commercials, even when it goes like proper cold. The only time I change that is if it was silvers and I got to 0.14, but 0.16 main line, which I forgot to mention because I was waffling too much, that is what I'll have on all my rigs for commercials. So that's my first one. That is what I'm starting off on. I'll talk you through the pots and the bait in a sec. Now my other one, so let me just put this hook back into the bottom so I can show you this one. So exactly the same main line, slightly heavier hook length, we'll get onto that. So a little bit closer with the main line on this one. Because I wouldn't use this at all in the winter when it's really cold, that first rig, that'd be the rig that I go to. This is purely for now to go, get straight down to them Stockies, which are like, they're still pretty ravenous. You'll have a good, what you'll find, you'll have a good, I'm going to say 3 or 4 weeks where they'll feed really well, they'll take a clattering, and then they'll, won't necessarily shut up shop, but they'll become harder to catch. That's when you get them little dinks, and that's when you need that lighter float on. But for now, I'm going to start off on that one, see what's happening, and then put this one on, and hopefully you'll see the difference, how much quicker you can get the bites and get down to the fish. So not as much line pulled up to float, so I'm a lot quicker on the strike. Slightly heavier and different float on this one then, because it's got a completely different purpose. So 412s F1 pellet, exactly the same bristle, 1.5 bristle. Little 11 stots just under float, just to bring that float right down, because we have got to dot these floats right down, because you'll see the bites are absolutely horrendous. Again, we've got our back shots on. Now coming down here, look where my shots are now. So that's 5 number 9 shots on, just spaced sort of like an inch apart if you like. Yeah, so they're 6 inches, so they're probably ending at what, 9 inches, something like that, 8 or 9 inches. So what I'm doing is basically I'm feeding my bait, lifting my float out, and then it's just going straight down to the bottom so I can get straight into the fish. And then we've got a slightly heavier hook length on. We've got a 0.12 to a size, same hook, size 18 SFLB. You could probably get away with a 16s one as well, but because of the baits I've got, that's why I'm choosing to use an 18. So that's the rigs covered. Dead simple. 2 rigs can do the same job. Now, although I'm only going to concentrate on fishing across today in my 3 foot, do the same down the edges, folks. Them fish, they love cover. You know, obviously fishing down the edges, exactly the same as what we're doing over there. You do exactly the same down the edges, no different whatsoever. Match conditions, I'd fish it like a triangle. So I'd have my swim there, and my swim down the edge there, and then my swim to the right there. Use the same rigs, you know, you could probably find the same depth. Even if you've got to come away from cover a little bit, it's all about that depth, and you will be on hard bottom. Probably on most commercial snake lakes, you will still be on that bit of a slope where it's harder bottom. Completely different down the middle for maggots, but we're not fishing down the middle on maggots, so I'm not going to talk about it. Right, let's go on to the bait. I'm going to leave what's in this bucket till last. I'm going to talk you through my hook baits first. So my hook baits are choice. We've got my 4mm Pro Expanders and the 2mm Pro Expanders. When would you use what? Now, I'll probably get away with just using 4mm today, but I have done some 2s just in case, even though 4s would be absolutely bang on. You know I prepare these, I've done them loads of times before, but the beauty of the Pro Expanders is you can just rock up on the bank. If you're like me and you've had a few drinks the night before and you forgot to put your expanders in a little placky bag, you can just get a pint tub, put a few in the tub, put a bit of water over them, and that's it. Ding dang diddlies, an hour's time you'll be good to go. But you know, I have been prepared for this one, folks. I have done them in a little bag, and that's what I've got. So I've got my 4mm expanders in the left ear, and then the 2mm ones on the right hand side there. Now 2mm ones really come into their own when it's proper desperate, especially for skimmers as well. If there's skimmers in your venue, they absolutely adore them 2mm, because just let me hold some of our 2mm Fin Perfect micros up as well, so you can see there the difference. Just let me put one of our 2mm over the top. You can't really see that in there, but that's the 2mm. You getting on that, Jakey? Yeah, there's the 2mm Pro Expander, and obviously the micros round it. So it's almost matching the hatch kind of thing, but just a fraction bigger, you know, that 2mm, and it is something for the fish to pick out on. So them are my hook baits. As you've just seen there, we've got some 2mm Fin Perfect pellets. Literally, as soon as I got here, just put, well, you can see there, there's like quarter of a pint of pellets in there, completely soaked in my water, and then 45 minutes time, 50 minutes time, they've absorbed all that water. Give them a fluff up, and you'll get, well, you've got just over half a pint of bait there. That'll last you a long time. But we are not really interested in fishing them. The trouble with micros, don't get me wrong, I love fishing micros. I think the last one we did was with micros when we were catching them carp, but sometimes the fish can become a little bit too preoccupied on micros. It might be a case of just putting a few in to start with and then nothing else. So what I like to do with these new Stockies is use ground bait, and in particular Super Crush. Super Crush Expander is the best winter, well, all round ground bait, but in particular winter ground bait in the whole wide world. It is flipping amazing. Reason being is it's so easy to mix, literally a 1-to-1. So with this Super Crush, all I've done, I've got it in here, I've put a dry lot of the Super Crush into a pint tub, put it into a bucket. I'm going to do all this now actually. Put it into a bucket, fill the pint tub up with water, put it on top, and then what you're left with is a complete, it looks like you've ruined the ground bait basically. It goes like a soup. But if you did this as soon as you get to your peg, an hour's time, that's what you're left with. So it's like a cake, but it's probably better to do it as soon as you get up in the morning. Yeah, so just do it in the morning, go into your garage or your shed or anything like that, get it done. Then when you get to the venue, it'll be absolutely perfect. And that's what you're left with, that cake there. Yeah, that is literally a pint of bait, and that'll last you all session easy. Now, you don't really need a riddle for this. The beauty of the expander, yeah, even if you can still feel the odd like little lump in it, that'll break out straight away, so you don't really need a riddle. But I am going to put it through a riddle just to show you the consistency that you get. So break that up. The best riddles for it are the sort of like the dead fine riddles, the 2 mil, like the pinky riddle if you like. Them are the best ones for it. So I'll put that back into there, put that over. It's weird doing it on your lap. Jakey's got me in all sorts of funny positions here. Cheeky, he's laughing his head off there. And then literally all we're doing is just pushing that through, so you know that there's absolutely no lumps whatsoever in that ground bait. But as I say, even that as it is, you know, I've just been rubbing my hands over that, over the grate, and it's good to go. It's so good. You think you'd just ruin the ground bait in a wanna when you first do it, you know, you do to your 1-to-1, but it's just flipping amazing. So we're not going to need all that. Put that down to the side because I'm getting tired, and I'm just going to literally put that into there so you can see how much you've got. That's a 2-pint tub I've got there. A little bit stuck on the bottom because it is so wet. There we go, put that down there, put that over the top, and that is what we're left with. So we've got, that's a 2-pint tub there, and there's still that much in there that I've not riddled. Look at all that in there. There's still probably well over another pint in there. So you're doubling in the quantity, and that's the beauty of that ground bait. Yeah, so you get a good, certainly over the winter, you'll get flipping 7-8 sessions out of like one bag of ground bait. Look at all that. And what we're going to do with that, there's a couple of different ways that I like to feed it. I could put that in loose, just so when I'm putting it in the water, it's creating like a bit of a column. That can tend to bring fish off the bottom, up in the water kind of thing. So what I like to do, I've shown you this before, it's like how we do my micros. So with them fingers, I'll come into the tub, get me a little bit of ground bait and just press it into the corner there. Yeah, and that's what you're left with. Then you can just mould a little ball out of that. And then that, in the little pot, the smallest Preston pot, we just put that in like so. You see it's a little bit too big, so you just press that down and that'll hold in there while you ship out. Then all we're doing, again, there's a couple of ways. What I'll probably do to start with is just drop that from a bit of a height so it creates a bit of a noise on the top of the water. But the beauty of this Supercosh expander, folks, as soon as that hits the water, it's going to start breaking up. It will remain, you know, sort of like a ball like that. So half it'll break off, half it'll get down to the bottom, and then it's going to start breaking up. Now, obviously, experiment on the day. Now, I want to show you how effective this ground bait is and how it draws fish into your swim. There's nothing physically really in that ground bait for them to eat. Now, if you're not holding on to fish, then that's where I'll pick out a few micros, maybe have another tub, and then go to like a 70-30 consistency in favour of ground bait. If they're wanting more bait or there's bigger fish coming in, you could go 50-50. You know, it's entirely up to you. But always starting off wise, your session folks, have these like it is now. Don't sort of like go in guns blazing, mix the two together. Always start off separate. You can always mix that up later on into the session if that makes sense. But you can change how you're feeding as well. Sneak it under the water, lift your pot out, drag your float over it. You know, it depends what's working on the day. So, without further, I think I've waffled too much there. Even Jake is like, oh, he's yawning, he's like pointing at his watch. Andrew, get on with it. You're boring me and I'm boring myself, folks. So, we're going to do, since it's in one, we are literally going to go for it in one. So, first things first, let's get our Pro Expander on. Now, you know how we hook these expanders. Oh, incidentally as well, you know how much I love colouring the expanders, yeah? If you wanted to do that at this stage. So pick a few out, put them in a tub, get your spicy sausage on there, anything like that. You know how much I love coloured bait. But for today, I just want to be nice and quick because we're going to get to the pub just straight out of the bag. I just want to show you how effective these pellets are. So, you know we hook them, dead simple. So the grain is running down. Are you on that, Jakey? He's on it. The grain's running down that way, so bring your pellet round to the side and put your hook right through the middle and make sure the actual expander is resting on the bend of the hook. You don't want to hook it too fine, because if you're anything like me and you strike too hard, your pellet's falling off. To be fair, that's the worst thing about flipping expander fishing, but the beauty of these expanders, the Pro Expander, they do stay on, so we're not going to be striking too hard anyway. Right, come on. Stop waffling, Andrew. Flipping heck. Right, so, don't. Them little fingers, little ball, put it into your pot and press that down, yeah? Just so it holds out. Now remember, my first go out there, I'm going to drop this from a bit of a height. I have got to manoeuvre the rig through all the reeds. Now, I'm convinced this rig will be too light to start with. We'll probably, you know, get a few liners and that. Right, where was your marker? I forgot where my marker is. Right, so I've manoeuvred that in. I've got my tape on my pole here that I'm lining up with my sock. There's your marker there. So I'm going to drop that from a height first. There we go. Bring that float out. If I drop that now, obviously the shots are so light, then my float's going to end up slightly behind my pole. So I'll drop it there. So everything's nice and registered. So you can see how low I've got that float. It's so important that you have your float dotted down. I would say there's no mistaking the proper bite, but new stockies, what they tend to do is come into your peg, and obviously there's nothing untoward, so your float will sort of like shake a little bit or just start moving to the side. When they're sort of like more used to getting caught, they tend to come in, give it a big suck, and then you get that nice fast bite. But new stockies can be a nightmare sometimes, just because they're not used to it. So that's the beauty, I suppose, of having ground bait with no food content in it, though. They will be actively searching, and obviously that bigger standout bait, that 4mm expander, they will pick up on it pretty quick. Now the beauty of this light rig is what you can do is lift it out, lay it in with a carbon stem, hold a tight line and watch it through the water. But to start with, I'm just going to leave it there just to see what happens. I'm not going to wait too long between feeds either. Probably, even in the depths of winter, I wouldn't wait that long. I'd like 3 to 5 minutes, no more than that. Because there's no food in that ground bait, no food content, you can just come back and reset the trap again. I wouldn't give it overly long though before I started changing where I'm fishing, if that makes sense. So remember me saying at the top of this, it could be that the fish are like a metre away and not even moving. I wouldn't have thought it would be the case just yet. That's usually when it goes even colder. Imagine, oh, there we go. So as soon as you hook one, you see me ship back. How good is that? Oh, that's amazing. So as soon as you hook one, ship back nice and quick just to get that fish out with your peg. I mean, that was a proper bite, that. I was expecting like more funnier bites than that. Little tiny dinks. Try not to hit Jake in my landing net. Is this one of these new stockies? Yeah, it is. It's blooming heck. They're a bit angry. They're trying to get under my blooming peg. But it's the beauty of like little fish like this. They just carry on getting bites. It's so good. Look at them. Absolutely stunning little things. Oh, right. Jakey of the fowls, get right in on where that is hooked. Here on that, that is like 10 out of 10. That literally, it doesn't get any better than that, Jakey. Jakey's going to have to go some to beat that hook hold right there, folks. That is 10 out of 10. I'm going to say that's 11 out of 10. But that's the kind of fish that you can expect. Little tiny stockies, sort of, what's he, 8 ounce, something like that, 7, 8 ounce. That's the kind of things that you can expect and getting bites from. It's so good. Now, little carp stockies, they're a little bit worse than F1 stockies in that they can be quite slimy. So make sure there's no slime, and then we're straight back on it again. So I'm going to drop that ground bait from a bit of a height again, just to see. I'm not going to continually do that, because what will happen is you'll draw them fish up and off the bottom. I just want to make that noise to start with, just to attract a few fish in. Then when there's a few fish there, I'll start sneaking that bait in, almost like you do in the summer when you're setting a trap. Try and manoeuvre that rig through all the leaves and everything. There we go. Get onto my marker. Marker's there. I'm going to drop my ground bait in. Up there. Dink. There we go. Come back to my marker. Lift my rig out. Let that rig have a chance to settle. And then it's that bottom sort of like 6 inches there. Once you drop that rig, when they're on it proper, then fish will like have it straight away. It's such an effective way of fishing, it really is. But it's brilliant. As I say, it's what you can expect on these fisheries all over the country that have had a nice stocking of carp, F1s, even silvers, even like fish on site that have got moved from one lake into a different lake. You'll find that they'll feed completely different as well. But that's the beauty of, as I say, the beauty of here at Partridge Lakes. They do have a fantastic stocking policy. It's so good. Now, one other thing that will make a difference, certainly with Stockies as well, is, you know, little tiny lift and drops. They do tend to go for that. But I'm a bit reluctant to do lifting and dropping on a slope. I would do down the middle for sure, but on a slope, see, that was a little dink then. So what I don't want to do is drop that rig back down. So what I'll do now is put that in back towards me and then hold a tight line. I'm not going to hold it out, I'm going to hold a tight line so you can really see that float coming in. Now what's going to happen, obviously, because I'll have to lay it in towards me because of the slope, once that rig settles, I'm probably going to be off me marker. So what I'm going to do is just, once it's settled, I'm going to lift that float out there, bring it onto my marker, I'm just all on a blooming leaf at the minute, and drop it again. So I know now that, see what I mean? I know now that was right over where I put that ball of ground bait in. Obviously it's just followed that expender all the way down and nailed it straight away. Hey, the bites are amazing. I didn't think they'd be like this. I thought they'd be like little shaky ones. Little Shaky Stevens ones. Jakey doesn't even know who Shaky Stevens is. No, he doesn't. Shaking his head, honestly. Young pup, isn't he? A little bit bigger. So good, this, folks, isn't it? A little bit bigger. Ooh, there he is. So he's probably, yeah, he's a little bit bigger. 9 or 10 ounce. But that's what I was getting at. That's why I don't like moving it. If it's on a slope, look where he's hooked, he's in the bottom part of the lip. Doesn't matter because we caught him. But the reason we moved it is because that's when my index fingers were when my ground bait was. But the way you've got to lay your float in because you're coming down a slope, my thumb's where my float is. Once it's settled, I've lifted that float back out and then dropped it over where I'm fishing, if that makes sense. You can't lay it to the side because you're going to be up the slope. You've got to lay it back towards you. Beautiful little mirrors there. I'm going to have another go on this one. So I'm going to feed a little bit different this time. I'm going to put my pot in like I would if it was in the summer. So I'm just going to sneak that bait in. I'm not going to put it in loose. I'm still going to make a little ball just because it breaks up so quick. Still put it in a little ball. And there's no fear, as I say, of feeding the fish up with that ground bait. So this is getting sneaked in. It's good manoeuvring, isn't it, through the leaves? That's the worst thing about this time of year, isn't it? The blooming leaves. Right, so that's my marker there. This time I'm going to sneak that bait in. There. Lift it up. Come back to my marker. Draw that so you can see the cloud there that's coming off that ground bait. Lift my float out until that rig's almost straight and then drop. You know if you've done it right because your float will settle like it should settle straight away, yeah? Little tiny dimple. If you've not quite got the timings right, your float will be out a little bit. Yeah, just waiting for that shot to drop. But you know everything's in a nice little tight pile now. I'm just getting ready for that fish. So we saw how quick that last one came after a lift and a drop. So I'm going to leave it sort of 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. And if I don't get a bite, I'm going to lay that rig in back towards me again, hold a tight line, almost let it settle, and then lift my float up and back down again. So they can just watch that bait sometimes. It can be absolutely brilliant. At the minute, you know, there's not, well, flipping out, we've had 2 and 2 chucks, so I'm getting ahead of myself here, folks, aren't I? But what I'm trying to say is, if I was going in with this rig and I was getting like foul hookers and funny bites, liners, that kind of thing, that's when that other rig does come into play, that real positive one. You're just fishing a hell of a lot quicker. You're getting straight down to where the fish are. I'm fishing a lot quicker. I will use it, but at the minute, obviously, because it's still early days, there's not enough fish there competing yet. But I'm just going to wait for this next leaf line to pass, and then what I'll do, I'm going to lay that rig in again. So I'm going to lay it back towards me because of the slope. If I was on sort of like a corner peg like that, I could lay it in out to the left and hold a tight line so it's coming to the banking nice and natural. But because the ledge is coming back towards me, I can't lay it to the side. You could if you were fishing obviously off bottom and things like that, but fishing on the bottom you're going to be too much over depth, if that makes sense, or off depth, either or. It doesn't swing in as natural. Right, I've got a little clear patch here now, so I'm going to lift that rig out put that in there. Not on that leaf, put that in there. And flat line and just hold me float. So you see I'm holding that float to them back shots. You can just see all them shots registering. But look where my back shots are and look where my float is. So what I'm going to do now is just lift that float up, hold it and then just drop it. So I'm fishing right on my marker. Now if you remember last time, that carp took it straight away. Ooh, that was a little dink then. So them are the signs that you're looking for. That's usually what you get with new stockies. Them little tiny like shakes and shivers on your float. Because, as I said, they're coming into your bait and just staying there. They've engulfed your bait, but they're still eating everything else, if that makes sense. So the bites can be absolutely horrendous sometimes. But the 2 bites we've had have been brilliant. That was definitely a little shake then, though. I probably will have a go with that more positive rig after this one. I've got to show it you. And keep an eye on, how quick you're getting bites. So both of them fish have been pretty quick. That first one was probably 90 seconds. That second one was probably a little bit quicker. Keep that bait going in, and so that's the main thing. Certainly with these stockies, you've got to keep that bait going in. So every 3 to 5 minutes to start with, and then they sort of tell you when they've had enough, because you're getting bites. You get into a rhythm of when you're getting the bites in relation to feeding. Sometimes it might be within seconds, other times it might be a minute or two. You do definitely get into a rhythm, and as soon as that rhythm stops, you go 2 or 3 goes over 8 to 10 minutes without a bite. That's when it's time to start changing things. So move to your left, move to your right, try your edges, that kind of thing. They will take a clattering, but only for so long, and then they just get fed up and they'll just go. It tends to be the same for everyone. Everyone will catch quite quickly, and then it'll just go a little bit quieter. So I'm going to give it probably about another 40 seconds, and I'm going to come back, feed it again with this same rig, but I'm going to make a noise again. Remember that time I sneaked the bait in. It's nowhere near as responsive. That was a little dink then. Yeah. Oh, that could have been far up, that one. It was a tiny little dink. Them are more the bites that I thought I'd be getting. So I'm just going to quickly stay with this rig, but I'm going to feed that ground bait like I did on them first 2. I'm going to put the ball in and drop it from a bit of a height, because they do love that noise. They do love that noise, the carp. In these ponds where they're getting reared, they probably get used to like the noise of someone coming to feed them, or rattling a bucket, that kind of thing. I know with my fish at home, I stamp my feet and they come straight to me. Right, so get in position again, a little bit further past it, lift that pot over, little plop, dink. There we go. Come back to your marker, lift the float out. Only a full float, just over a leaf, that's why I've lifted it a bit more. There we go. So hold it, and then drop. And then when they're having it proper, that'll just carry on going. It's flipping amazing. But it's usually more so with that other rig, that positive one. So I'll catch one more on this, and I'll put that positive one on. So remember the bites, that time we had that little shake, then we waited probably another, go on, blackbirds. We had another 50 seconds, and then we had that bite then. Could have been a far looker. Oh, that was a little dink then. Yeah, see what I mean? So it's miles better at the minute plopping that bait in. They're definitely coming to that noise. It's nuts, isn't it? So it's little things like that, folks, that you need to work out in your session. Sometimes when you get a lot of fish there, it'll be miles in F1. Sometimes when you get a lot of fish there, it'll be miles better to sneak the bait in. But when at the start of the session, plop it in. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Look at them F1s. They are good size, them. They are absolutely stunning. Look where he's hooked as well, because I've not moved it. He's in the top lip, so I've not moved it. Beautiful. Right, I'm going to change rigs. See if we can get a little bit quicker. I mean, that's flipping quick enough, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like, whoa. It's so good, folks. So good. Right, we've had that one on. So this one's plumbed up exactly the same. Saw me plumbing up at the start. We plumbed up to sort of like there. So we're on like that bit of a curve. So it's coming back towards like that, a little bit of a curve down at the bottom. Still don't know what a curve means. I just say it because J-Lad does. Still not explained it. Has he explained it to you yet, Jakey? Oh, he's explained it to Jakey. Probably knows that I'll just be like looking right through him. That's why he doesn't explain it to me. Right, so exactly the same thing. 4mm expander. And I do exactly the same thing with the feed, because obviously you saw there's no coincidence. The 3 fish that we've had, they've been a lot quicker than the time that we snuck that bait in. Yeah, we just got them little shivers on the float. This rig, as I say, when there's a lot of fish there competing, obviously it's early days, but when there's a lot of fish there competing, this is the rig that'll do the damage. Yeah, for your first sort of like hour, 2 hours of the match when them stockies are feeding, this is the one that you need to be on. Even a 414 sometimes, you know, just get straight down to them nice and quick. So you watch how quicker we're fishing now. So again, a little bit further past it, plop, 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 doink, plop, lift your float out, put it over your ground bait, doink, fishing. Yeah, much, much quicker. There you go. That is ridiculous, isn't it? So like, even though that first rig, it was great. Yeah, we were getting bites, like minute, 2 minute fish. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Not wrong with that. But it's only when you see another rig in action that you realise, oh, actually, it's almost like, you know what I'm going to compare it to? It's almost like fishing shallow proper, you know, nice and through the water, or fishing overshotted. That is the difference, yeah? Fishing nice and shallow through the water, flipping amazing. You get bites, you miss loads of bites, but you catch fish. But when you're doing overshotted rig, you realise, oh, actually, I was catching like 3 fish for every one I would. Yeah, it's exactly the same with rigs like this. Look at that. That is absolutely stunning. Oh, look at it. Beautiful little linear mirror. Why am I not fishing the matches on here? I'm going to come in all the matches on here, folks. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. If this video today, folks, don't make you want to get out and get fishing, then I don't know what it does. Right, I'm going to catch one more. Hopefully a nice quick one just to show you. Then I think Jakey's been giving the right evils. He's like, Andrew, get off your box. I think he wants to go, but there's literally nothing more to go through than that. Obviously, match conditions, or if you pleasure him, I'd be feeding him in margin lines, of course I would. Just take a break every sort of 15 minutes, or even like, you could even like make your little ball up and throw it in if you wanted to. As long as it's there or thereabouts, it's that noise, the fish will come to it, but the accuracy comes with that. You can be 2, 3, 4 metres away, don't let it bother you, just use your pot as your accuracy. And obviously the deep water, that's going to be your mainstay in these competitions. Most of your fish will generally come from down the middle, you know, the big old wise crafty fish that feed when that light starts to go down in the winter. That's where you're going to do a lot of your damage, even in the last half an hour, but it's what you do beforehand, and that's what we're getting at today with these stockies. That's how you can catch them. So another little ball in, squeeze it in that pot, and hopefully it'll be a nice quick bite again. It should be anyway. But I just wanted to show you the difference with that rig, that positive rig. As I say, you can fish even more positive if you want sometimes. So a little bit further past, lift that over, doink, 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 hi, there we go. Lift that out and drop. There we go, we're fishing straight away. So straight down to it, let that fish find the bait. Could probably do with a bit more shot on that one actually. So we would have had one by now on that last time, that's how quick it come. But still, you know, it's still going to be a little bit quicker. Oh, there you go. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Nice and positive, straight down to the fish. Oh, proved it in a oneer, haven't we, folks? We've proved it in a oneer. You see why I had to show it you, yeah? But almost as soon as they rock up like that, they can go stockies, you know? Once you get a clatter in, they can go. You see how quick you're getting bites, so keep an eye out on that. As soon as that changes, yeah, you got two goes in over like, what, 8 or 10 minutes without a fish, you know you've got to change something. So that's when it's time to try your other swims. Keep bait going in by all means, try your other swims, that kind of thing. This is flipping amazing. So good, isn't it? Just fishing, it's just, oh, can't beat fishing, folks. It's the best thing in the world. It's just absolutely amazing. And that's what I want to end on that one. Look at the state of that. Beautiful. Oh, he's 9 out of 10 him. He might be 9.5. He's not quite sent there, but look at that to end on. Absolutely stunning. He's probably 9 or 10 ounce little baby mirror. I don't think there's nothing more to cover other than that. It's pointless like staying on them because nothing had changed. The only thing you've got to be wary of or keep an eye on is if you start foul looking fish, what do you do then? Personally, you can either do one or two things. You can rest your swim, go somewhere else, keep a little bit of bait going in, or what's probably the issue is If you're using micros, you're getting too many fish there, getting them competing. If it is that you're foul looking fish and missing loads of bites, putting the ground bait in, shallow water. That is all you need to do. So knock 6-8 inches off your rig, find shallow water, or even go left and right. But it's usually, if it's micros or there's too many there, just come off it, just go somewhere else in your peg. But other than that, just folks, there's going to be commercials like this near you where you need to get out and give it a go. The colder it gets though, definitely that first rig that I started on, that's the one that's going to do you damage. But for the next sort of like couple of weeks, you know, even though it's coming colder next week, it's getting down to, you know, I think 1 degree at night time, 5 or 6 degrees in the day. It's going to take a week or two for this water to really start to cool, you know, to cooling off, that kind of thing. So get out, give it a try, folks. I hope you've enjoyed that. I flipping love that. It's not very often when we're doing these that they go exactly how you want it to. But when they do, it's flipping amazing. As I say, just keep an eye out on what the fish are doing and let them tell you. You've seen there's a lot of fish there now. Everything's going bang on. They're all getting hooked nice. As soon as something changes, that's when you're going to have to change things. Get that plummet back on, go and find another spot, or just go on a different swim down the edges or something like that. But as always, folks, if you've liked what you've seen today, please, please, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and that's going to tell you when we're putting out these fantastic videos. Hey!